Hello, this is Dan Miller for Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, and this week we're going into part 3 of bass runs on the guitar. We're just trying to build your bass run vocabulary slowly but surely. We started with just one note leading tone into the next chord, and then last week we did added a couple extra notes to that run, and this week we're going to add some more to make it a fairly long bass run. And again, as always, we're going to go through each week and start to build and start to build. The idea eventually is to start to mix these things. You don't always want a real long run. Sometimes you mix it up with a shorter run, you mix it up with a run that comes from the other direction. You mix these things up as you see fit in the moment. And the idea is that if you practice these techniques a lot, by themselves repetitively and get a real good feel for them, that later on you'll sort of intuitively be able to decide spontaneously and in the moment which ones are going to work the best for you. But if you don't spend the time to do each one and get real familiar with each one, then that's not going to be as easy to make them intuitive. You'll have too many choices, and if you're trying to think about it in your brain, oh, what should I play next? It's not going to come out in time, it's not going to come out smoothly. So we're building slow so that each week you can really practice the ones that I give you, and then start to build that repertoire with lots of repetitive practice of each thing. So here we go. This next one, last time we just did from G to C, we just did. So we can add one more note. We just walked up the G scale there. We talked about using the scale tones to walk from G to C. We can add another note, which is the B flat note. Instead of going A, B, C, we can go A, B flat, B, C. Make it a little bit longer run. So again, a little bit longer run, adding a note that's outside the scale, but still, because it has that sequence of going in one direction, it's going to lead the listener's ear to that next change, and adding that note outside the scale is going to give it a little bit of a flavor, a little bit of a texture and flavor there. Now we talked moving from C to D. We had that's one note, that's all we have in between C and D. Right? But if we want to make a longer run, how do we do that? Well, we can go back to go forward. So in order to do that, you could go. Okay? So I'm going C, B, back to C, and then to C sharp. G. So that's a way that you can make a distance between two notes seem longer with a longer run, is you just gotta go back. In this case we're going chromatically back and then walking chromatically half steps up to the C sharp, changing to D. Okay? Again, you know, we're still using these leading tones. The last note we play before the root note of the chord we're going to is going to usually be in these walk-ups. It's going to usually be. I'm not saying you always have to have it, but it helps. Like in the first lesson when we discussed leading tones, playing that leading tone, the listener's ear just naturally wants to hear that next note. So that makes it a nice way to lead into that, because it resolves to that home base of that next chord in a nice way. Okay, so going, we did G to C, we did C to D, and now if we're going to D, again, last time we went F sharp to G, this time we're adding that F note into that run to make it a little bit longer. We're going E, F, F sharp, G. Again, another chromatic run. So that's another way you can do it. So again, we're taking this slow, we're taking it a little bit at a time. Next time we're going to talk about how to change the timing of those runs. Right now we've been doing all runs as quarter notes. You can also do eighth note runs, you can do half note runs, and you can mix all of those timing intervals, half, quarter, and eighth. You can mix those all together, and we'll talk about that stuff in the future. But this time we're just going to work on this longer run. And like last time we said if you're changing from maybe C, from G to D, and from D back to D to C, which are other changes that you might be able to, C back to G and D to C, which are other changes you could do in a 1-4-5 progression in the key of G. You could use those same ones, like I'm going to C, going C to G, right? That same run that I did going from D to G, I could use from C to G. And I'm going from G to D, whereas I was on the C note and had to go backtrack to go up, to go to D. I'm on G, I've got the room, I don't have to backtrack, I don't have to play that C, I could go. Right, so I could go just B, C, C sharp, G. Okay? So, you got the room to do it, you don't have to backtrack, you can just go B, C, C sharp, D, whereas if I was on the C, I had to play C to go back B, C, C sharp, D. Now I think the only other one that we could do would be a D to a C. We've done C to G, we've done G to D, we've done G to C, we've done C to D, going from D back to C, and then you could use that same run that we used when we went from G to C. You could be so you could do that. D, okay, so that same run that we went from G to C could be used going from D to C. So that gets you all the changes that you would need to go from one chord in a 1-4-5 progression in G to any of the other chords, using a longer run than we did in the previous videos. So practice that, get that down really well, because next time we're going to change the timing of these intervals of the bass runs. Like right now it's all been quarter notes, but when we change that timing, you need to have the quarter note run kind of solid in your head and under your fingers before you start changing that timing for it to feel comfortable. Alright, so until next time, I'm Dan Miller from Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, and keep practicing those bass runs.